Welcome back to The Making of Her. This episode is the beginning of a new season, one that speaks directly to women in healthcare, physicians, dentists, surgeons, practice owners, clinical leaders, the women who carry responsibility not just for outcomes, but for the people they serve. Now, if you are listening to this while you're driving home, maybe you're charting late or finally sitting down after a long day and you feel like you never really shut off, this episode is for you. Because today we are talking about something most women in healthcare experience, but they hardly ever name. Why you're always on, not just working, not just busy, but internally alert. You're constantly scanning, anticipating, even when nothing is technically wrong. And no, this isn't because you're anxious or broken or bad at resting. It's because of how your nervous system has been shaped by the role you have been living inside. Now, on is not a personality trait. See, many women in healthcare think that being on is just who they are, right? They're detail-oriented. They are responsible. They are well-prepared. Let me reframe this. Being on is not a personality trait. It is a state of readiness. And in healthcare, readiness is rewarded. You are trained to anticipate problems before they surface. You are trained to look for those subtle cues, to stay calm under pressure, to make decisions with incomplete information, because that skill is what saves lives. But over time, that same readiness becomes internalized. Your body learns vigilance equals safety. So even when you're not in the office, you're not in clinic, you're not at the hospital, even when you're home, even when the day is technically over, your system doesn't stand down. Not because you're dramatic, but because you are trained. What's the hidden cost of this clinical responsibility? See, here's something most people that are outside of healthcare don't understand. Your job doesn't end when the patient leaves the room, does it? You hold outcomes you cannot fully control. Decisions that have real consequences. Emotional weight you are expected to carry quietly. And for women, there's an added layer. You're not just clinically competent. You are often emotionally tuned into that patient. You are relationally aware. You are also expected to soften that experience. So your nervous system isn't just tracking clinical data. It is tracking people. It is tracking their fear, their anxiety, their expectations. That level of attunement requires constant energy. And when there is no structured way to discharge that energy, your body stays on by default. Why do women feel this more than men? That's the question that often comes up. Let's say that quiet part out loud. See, women in healthcare are often socialized to be more accommodating, to be more emotionally aware, to absorb more relational strain. So while two clinicians may share the same workload, they're not carrying the same internal load. Many women are managing staff emotions. They are anticipating patient dissatisfaction. They are smoothing over interpersonal friction. They are working to prevent conflict before it even happens. That's not written into your job description, is it? But it lives in your body. And over time, your nervous system learns, I can't fully relax. I am needed. That's not ambition. That is responsibility without any recovery. Why does rest not turn you off, right? Isn't it just a switch, turn off to on? This is the part that confuses women the most. You finally stop working, right? But you don't feel rested. You lay down, but your mind keeps running. You take time off, but you don't feel restored. That's because rest alone doesn't deactivate the vigilance. Your nervous system doesn't relax just because the calendar clears. It relaxes when it perceives safety. And safety comes from predictability. It comes from containment. It comes from clear boundaries. And it actually comes from that internal permission. Without these, rest just becomes unstructured time with an alert nervous system, which can actually feel worse than staying busy. So you just go back to doing. That's what we're good at, right? Let's talk about the identity of being the one who actually holds it. Here's the identity piece. Many women in healthcare become the steady one. The one who doesn't fall apart, the one who doesn't complain, the one who doesn't drop the ball, because that identity is what earns the trust. But it comes at a cost. Because when you're always the one who's holding it together, your body never learns to let go. And eventually, being on stops feeling empowering. It starts feeling exhausting. And not because you can't do it, but because you shouldn't have to do it all the time. What can regulation actually look like for women in healthcare? Here's the reframe. The goal is not to stop caring, far from it. The goal is not to become detached. The goal is not to quit medicine or dentistry or chiropractics or veterinary medicine. The goal is regulated leadership. That means creating internal off-ramps, building predictability into your day, releasing responsibility that isn't yours, and learning how to come out of that vigilance intentionally. This isn't about rest as an activity. It is about containment as a strategy. When your nervous system knows where it can stand down, you regain clarity, presence, and this is where it turns into sustainable leadership. So if you have been feeling like you're always on, nothing is wrong with you. Your body just adapted to a system that asked a lot of you. But this next season of leadership, it does not require constant readiness. It requires discernment. That is what you and I, are going to be building together in this season of this podcast. I will see you next time.